going to talk about fluency. Has anybody heard that word before? Fluency, awesome. What do you think it might mean? What do you think fluency means?
Fluency is like things you read and you keep on reading to improve your reading.
Okay, very good. It has to do with reading. Tell me about fluency. If I knew you were a fluent reader, what would you sound like? Would you sound like a robot?
No.
You wouldn't, right? You would sound like you were speaking, right? That's what it means to be a fluent reader. There are a couple key words that we use when we think about fluency. Say automaticity.
Automaticity.
That's a big word, right? Automaticity means just word recognition. It means that when you see the words on the page, you know what they are. You don't have to sit there and go, sat. Like, you know the word is sat, right? That it's just, you recognize it automatically. So if you hear the word automaticity, it kind of sounds like automatic, right? And then the other word that has to do with fluency is expression. Anybody have an idea what expression might be, or where else we see expression? When you smile, is that an expression?
Yeah.
So think about reading with expression. What were you going to say?
I was going to say expression is like an emotion that, like, for reading.
Exactly, reading with emotion. That is perfect. So again, not sounding like a robot. I am Sam. Sounds like a robot, right? I am Sam. Sounds like we're speaking, we're fluent, reading with emotion. Good. How many of you practice reading at home? Awesome. How many of you practice reading out loud at home? Good, because usually we don't. When we practice reading at home, most of the time we're just reading silently to ourselves, right? But then we come to school, and our teacher says, we want you to read out loud. And then all of a sudden you have to hear your voice out loud, and it starts to like, ooh, that sounds weird. I haven't really listened to myself before. So what I used to tell my classes, you have stuffed animals at home or something like, set up a little audience. You have a little brother or sister, practice reading out loud. Read to your parents out loud. Okay, even though you guys are big kids now, you still need to practice reading out loud because that helps with your fluency. Because for us, sometimes it's weird to hear our own voice. Okay, so you got to kind of get used to that. Reading speed. How many of you think you're a fast reader? Okay. Do you have to be a fast reader?
No.
I am not a fast reader. Okay, I never have been a fast reader. I find myself having to go back and reread things, right? Because sometimes my mind is off somewhere else when I'm reading. So fluent reader, being a fluent reader also means that you check in with yourself. And maybe you have to slow down a little bit. Maybe you did read too fast, okay? But there's a point where if you're still reading too slow, then that means you're not fluent and you're not able to understand really what you're reading, okay? So we're going to practice. I want you to listen to me read. And I want you to tell me, am I being fluent or not? The August sun rolled up, hung at mid-heaven for a blinding hour. Fluent or not fluent?
Not fluent.
Okay. What would we say about somebody who's reading like that? Would we laugh at them?
No.
No. Okay. What does this person need to do? What do they need to do? Exactly. They just need to practice more. They need to practice reading. Maybe when you guys are in the library, sometimes you choose books that are a little bit higher level than you should be reading right now. And you kind of sound like that when you read, just because right now that book is just a little bit too hard for you, right? So that means you would drop it down a little bit, drop the level down, and work on your fluency a little bit more, okay? So if I was a fluent reader, okay, it would sound something like, the August sun rolled up, hung at mid-heaven for a blinding hour, and at last wheeled westward before the journey was done. But Winnie was exhausted long before that. Miles carried her some of the way. The tops of her cheeks were bright pink and sunburned, and her nose was vivid, comic red. But she had been rescued from a more serious broiling by May, who had finally insisted that she wear the blue straw hat. So, reading with expression, right? You guys are on chapter 9. You guys have a very good feeling for this book, right? So, while you're reading, even if you're reading to yourself, you should be hearing that expression going on in your head and practice reading out loud. Let's practice reading together. Can we all open up to chapter 9? Part of reading fluently is making sure that you're listening to the adults in your life, like your teacher or your parents, read to you fluently. So I just read an article about this topic, and his analogy was it's like driving a car. So you ride in a car every day with your parents, maybe every day. You're paying attention to what your parents are doing, right? That's helping you become a driver one day when you're able to drive, because you're paying attention to what your parents are doing right now. So pay attention to what the adults in your life are doing while they're reading. And you want to try to imitate that, okay, so that you sound like a fluent reader too. All right, so we're on page 46. We're just going to read that first paragraph. Okay, ready, begin.
The August sun rolled up, hung at mid-heaven for a blinding hour, and at last wheeled westward before the journey was done. But Winnie was exhausted long before that. Miles carried her song away. The tops of her cheeks were bright pink with sunburn, her nose a vivid comic red. But she had been rescued from a more serious broiling by May, who had finally insisted that she wear the blue straw hat. It came down far over her ears and gave her a clownish appearance. But the shade from its brim was so welcome that Winnie put vanity aside and dozed gratefully in Miles' strong arms. Her own arms wound around his neck.
Awesome. Were there any words in that paragraph that were unfamiliar to you? Which one? I'll come back to you, okay? Which one? Vivid. How many of you have ever heard the word vivid before? What do you think vivid means? Exactly, bright, colorful, vivid. What do you do when you come across a word that you don't know when you're reading? Because that can really hinder your comprehension, right, and your fluency. What do you do? Perfect. Ask an adult. What else? What if an adult wasn't there? What do you do? Perfect. Use context clues. So does that mean you keep reading, and then you go back, and then you think about what that word could mean? Okay, good job. What if you didn't know how to pronounce the word? What would you do? Yeah, you could sound it out. Could you sound out vivid? Yeah, it's a pretty easy word to sound out. Okay, so keep those strategies in mind when you're reading. You guys are doing an excellent job. And I'll check back in with you on your fluency. And you know how else we're going to keep track of your reading this year? I know Miss Dominguez is very good with it. Accelerated reader, right? So make sure you're taking your AR test, okay? All right, thank you guys.